as a Black woman, you have to have enough confidence and enough self-love to not even want to go into spaces where you're not accepted or you're not wanted. Hey, it's Drea, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now, I told you guys for 2026, I'm going to be bringing more content. I'm trying to be as consistent as I can this year. I know last year I was consistent and then I fell off towards the end of this year, towards the end of the year. But I'm not trying to do that this year. I'm trying to stay consistent. I have a lot of things that I'm trying to accomplish this year. Today's topic is something that I've been seeing going around on social media. Like last year and this year, it's becoming kind of popular for people to come to Miami as Black women or Black people in general and just talk about their experience in Miami. And it's been mostly negative from what I've been hearing. So, as someone who's lived in Miami for 5 years now, I feel like I can give some insight on this topic and my experience. So, before I start speaking on this topic, I want to make it very clear this is my experience only. Other people may have had different experiences, but I'm speaking as a Black woman in her mid 30s that's been in Miami for 5 years and has also lived other places, including Atlanta, New York City, DC, so Nebraska. Can't forget about that. Okay, so first I'll start off with why I even moved here. I moved to Miami mainly for the weather. I do not like being cold. I have seasonal depression. So I was like, I need to be somewhere where the weather is decent, where every day I can put on a flip flop, and the worst, maybe I have to put on a light jacket. So the weather is one of the main reasons why I moved out here. Also, another reason why I moved out here is because I like how diverse it is. You just have so many different groups of people, different foods, different things to do. It's just a whole different lifestyle out here. Being so close to the beach, all of those things were the reasons why I decided to move to Miami and um, basically make a life here. Before we can get into, the negative of what people say that they don't like about Miami or coming to Miami, I have to break down Miami and what people who might be tourists or coming for a week don't really know or understand. So I live in the suburbs. I live in South Miami. That is the area of Miami where it's mostly family based. You have, what you would see in the suburbs: Targets, Walmarts, grocery stores, the schools, baseball fields, soccer fields, YMCAs, libraries. You get the whole suburb feel, where it's mostly families, taking their kids to school, going out to restaurants on the weekends. Very family oriented life. I don't live in the city. I chose the South for a reason, because in the South, it's a little bit more quiet, and I don't really like traffic. So I purposely moved to the South. A lot of people come here and they would not move to the South because they want to be in the middle of everything, the nightlife and the hustle and bustle of it all. Me personally, I feel like when I want to go out and have a good time, I will drive to that. I'm not really a person who wants to live in the middle of everything and in the mix. When I was younger, yeah, that seemed like a dream. But being in my mid 30s now, I need my peace and quiet. I want to just be able to drive to the grocery store and come home. I don't want to be all in traffic and all that. So, anyway, first, I want to get that out of the way. So, people coming to Miami as tourists, they're only experiencing mostly the city. They're experiencing the restaurants and the clubs and the businesses that are attracting tourists. So let's get that out the way. Most of those people, they have never come to South Miami or come to any suburb of Miami to know what it's like to go into a restaurant here, go into a lounge here in the suburbs. They don't know what that's like because they're coming to Miami and purposely staying on the beach, downtown, Brickell, in a city area to get that Miami nightlife touristy experience. One of the popular things that I've been hearing that's been going around on TikTok is Black women coming into Miami and feeling like they're not being accepted by the businesses and establishments in Miami. More specifically, they're talking about South Beach. They're probably talking about Midtown, downtown, places like that. They feel like they're not able to go into these different establishments and get the same treatment as like a non-Black woman. I've heard people on TikTok, Black women specifically, talk about waiting in long lines outside the club, never being able to get in, going into spaces and not being treated fairly, or um, going up to a bar and the bartender never looking at them or asking them if they need anything. They've talked about like experiencing bad customer service. And I can honestly say that I've never experienced that. I've never experienced anything like that in Miami. And I'm going to tell you why I believe I've never experienced that. And if you're someone who's thinking about coming to Miami or moving to Miami, there are certain things that you need to do. There are certain things that you need to know and expect as a Black woman moving to Miami or coming to Miami. So, first things first, I don't necessarily think that standing in a long line, not being able to get in, feeling like you're not being serviced, has much to do with you being a Black woman. And this is just my personal experience. In my personal experience, Miami is a lot about who you know and money and confidence and looks, especially if you want to go to like the touristy scene in South Beach, in Brickell, downtown, places like that. If you just get dressed and pop up at a club and you don't know anybody or you're not prepared to spend like a lot of money, 9 times out of 10, you are going to have that experience of waiting in a long line and feeling like you may not get in, because Miami is a lot about who you know or if you're willing to spend money. Now, there are some clubs in South Beach and the party scene, touristy area, that you can clearly tell like who their target audience is. And their target audience might not be a Black woman in her mid 30s or even in her 20s that doesn't look like a model or doesn't have a certain aesthetic to her. You can kind of tell what clubs are like that. But at the same time, I've gotten into those kind of clubs just fine, especially if you're with like certain people. When I've gotten to those clubs, I've been with like athletes or men buying a table and preparing to spend money. If you don't know anybody, you are going to be standing in line because the club is looking at you for what you can offer. So, as a woman, they might be looking at you as a Black woman like you're not the target audience. And then if you're not coming in buying a table or spending a lot of money, they might feel like you're not offering them anything because you're not offering them money for a table. And they may be looking at you like, well, our target audience might be a racially ambiguous woman. And I feel like as a Black woman, you have to have enough confidence and enough self love to not even want to go into spaces where you're not accepted or you're not wanted. Me as a Black woman, there's certain clubs that if I'm not going in with a group of guys that's buying a table, I would never just try to go to one of those clubs, because even though I know I'm attractive and I have never personally experienced what some of these women are talking about, I know that some of these nightclubs, that's the game that they're playing. They want the girls that look like models. They want the girls that are racially ambiguous. And I know that I don't fit in that idea. And I'm okay with that. That doesn't make me feel any less about myself. And that doesn't make me feel like I'm not attractive, because I know that I am attractive. And I know that the Miami scene is a lot about optics and what it looks like. And they want people to come to Miami and feel like they've had a certain type of experience. And that's something that people have to understand. And if that's not something that someone can accept as a Black woman, or they were also women on there saying that they feel like plus size women can't get into the club. And that could be true in some cases. And for me, if I know that a club's target audience is not me, I'm just not going to go. I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to go and like get my feelings hurt. But I want to speak about the times that I have gone into those type of places and the experiences that I have had, negative and positive. So a lot of the times, like I said, I would get in with like a group of guys. So this one particular night, I was going to a club on South Beach, and it was a famous NBA player's birthday, and I was invited to his birthday party. So I'm not thinking like much of it because, like I said, I know that I'm attractive. I know that I'm pretty. I know when I put my clothes on, put my makeup on, do my hair, like I'm gonna be someone that I am attractive. People find me attractive. So I never think about, oh, I'm not gonna be able to get in, or someone's gonna think I'm this or that. And because I'm Black, I don't think about that. Also, Miami is about confidence too. Like you gotta have confidence. You can't be already thinking negative, trying to get into these clubs because people can spot that, on your face. But anyway, so I was invited to this birthday party, and it was a whole bunch of girls, and it was like it was like a lot of basketball players and a few football players. One of the football players, I ain't gonna say his name, but let's just say he's been getting into a lot of trouble this year, and he's been in the news, in the media a lot. So he was there, and I think y'all probably know who I'm talking about. But anyway, so we get into the section, and it was no other Black girls. It was no other Black girls. Like it was just all like racially ambiguous. I don't know where these girls are from. Those are the only girls in the section. I was the only Black girl. So I looked around, and like I felt odd because I'm like, here I am for a Black NBA player's birthday, and all of his friends and other athletes that are all Black, and all the girls in this section look nothing like me. I'm the only Black girl in this section. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let that stop me from enjoying myself and having a good time. So the night is going on. I'm having fun. I'm dancing, whatever. And I'm looking around and I'm noticing these guys aren't talking to those girls either. Like nobody was talking to anybody. None of the girls were dancing. They were all just like sitting on the couch with their cup, looking around, looking in their phones, taking pictures. They weren't dancing. They weren't in the moment. The athletes were talking amongst themselves. And that one football player that I was mentioning, he was just sitting there. He wasn't talking to nobody. He was just sitting there like by himself, looking like, oh, if I'm a socialized, you got to come up to me. And it was like in that moment where I realized, I was like, it has nothing to do with being Black, being white, being all these things that people were talking about. It has everything to do with like optics, because here I am sitting in a space with athletes, which a lot of girls who come to Miami, they will want to experience that. And I'm not even having the type of fun that I thought that I would have. Like a moment that I'm not going to lie, when I was younger, that I would be like, oh my God, that seems so lit. Like I've been in that situation more than once, and it's never really been the experience that I thought it would be. That was one situation. And I would say that that was kind of a negative situation for me because, like I said, I was the only Black girl. Nobody was dancing, nobody was vibing. The athletes were talking amongst themselves. The one popular athlete, he wasn't talking to nobody. Like it was just like, this is just like so pointless. And it almost got me to a point where I was just like, I don't even want to go to the clubs anymore, because if this is like what people think is like, oh, you've reached that level of, okay, I'm in a section with ballers and this is what it's like. It's like, okay, what's the point? And then the next time I was in a section with like, I guess you would call them ballers or whatever. I don't know what they call them these days. I'm getting a little older. Um, it was for Rick Ross's birthday party, and that was an experience that I wasn't expecting either. It was all Black girls in the section. It was no racially ambiguous girls in the section, and I'm like, wow, the person that I thought would have like the racially ambiguous girls and the exotic girls that they talk about um, online or whatever, that you see some of these rappers with, there were no girls that looked like that. It was like all Black girls, and like they were all beautiful. And I'm not saying that the racially ambiguous girls aren't beautiful, because they are gorgeous as well, but it was a whole different experience. Rick Ross was so nice. Like, he was talking to everybody, and I'm just like, okay, this was a really super positive experience. I didn't have any issue getting into the club, but I also was with someone who worked for Rick Ross, and that's why I was even invited and able to get into the section. So the point that I'm making is, it's not about being black. It's not about being plus size. In Miami, it's about who you know, your confidence, and if you're willing to spend money. But at the same time, some of these clubs do have a target audience. So it's like, if you're not going to spend no money, you don't know nobody, and you don't have confidence, you're going to experience what you may perceive to be as racism, but it may not necessarily be racism, if you get what I'm saying. Like, I hope that's making sense. Like, because what I try to do is, I try to understand the difference between what I think I'm experiencing and what I'm actually experiencing. Because if it really was about racism, no matter who I knew or how much money I had, I wouldn't be able to get in the club. You get what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense. And also, another thing I realized, when I do want to have a good time, and maybe I don't have anyone to go with that's a baller, or knows all these different people, or well connected, or I don't have a bunch of money to spend and try to get a section, guess what I do? I go up north. I go up north where there's more black people, there's Caribbean people, there's smaller clubs that aren't trying to like target a certain demographic, and I have a great time. Like, every time I go up north and party with like the Caribbean people, I'm treated like a queen. I feel great. I don't feel like awkward. I don't feel like, oh, I'm the only girl that looks like this. Everybody else looks mixed. And I feel great. I have a good time. It reminds me of like when I was in my teens and 20s and going out, and it was just like that feeling of, oh my God, I'm just having an amazing time. And so that would be my advice too, for someone coming here to Miami who may not know anybody, but they want to have a good time, and they don't want to experience that feeling of, am I being treated this way because of the color of my skin? Go up north. There's so many black people up there. They would love to have you in their establishment, and I have a great time every time I go. Another thing I want to talk about. So a lot of times people say, oh, it's hard to find a job in Miami if you're not Hispanic or you don't speak Spanish. Now, sometimes it is a lot of jobs that ask for you to be bilingual. It is a struggle when you don't know anybody out here in your field, and you're not bilingual, and you're not Hispanic. You can feel outnumbered. You can feel slightly invisible. But at the same time, when I got outside of like my head in the way I was thinking, and I put myself out there, I realized a lot of the times when I would think like, oh, I'm not going to get it because I don't know Spanish, or I'm not going to get it because I'm not Hispanic, or these people might not be as opening and inviting towards me because I'm black. When I stepped outside of that mindset, some of the most amazing things happened. I met some of the most amazing people. So that's what I'm trying to like hone in on. Sometimes it's mentally, you put yourself in that situation where you're feeling like, oh, this is happening this way because I'm black. And really, it's not that. Like, sometimes I will go into places where I'm the only black person and everybody is speaking Spanish, and I would start to feel small, and I would start to feel like, okay, they're not going to want to talk to me. They're not going to want to be my friend. They're not going to be interested in what I have to say. And as soon as I open my mouth up and speak to someone, people would just start talking to me. Oh, what's your name? Oh, what's your Instagram? Where are you from? Like, so that's what I'm saying. Sometimes you got to get out of your head. So it's like, yeah, people may come here to Miami as visitors and feel like, oh, this town is racist. And they kind of just like bunch Miami up into, this isn't for black people. And it's like, that's not necessarily true. It's like, one, you're only staying for like 5 days. Two, you went to the wrong spots. And like, three, you kind of came here with like preconceived notions, if you get what I'm saying. Dating in Miami is another thing that I want to talk about. So I've dated here and there. I've met some great people. I've met some horrible people. I've met great people as far as like friendships with females. I've met horrible friendships with females. And I think that that can happen to you wherever you are across the world. You're going to meet good people. You're going to meet bad people. And I've heard people online saying, oh, I'm a Black woman that lives in Miami and it's hard for me to date because all the Black men want Hispanic women. That's not true either. Or that they only want like racially ambiguous women. That's not true. Like, if you're gonna go by what you're seeing on TikTok, you're gonna believe that. That's not true. I'm a Black woman. I'm in my 30s, my mid 30s at that, and I don't have issues dating. There's plenty of men who like Black women, who like white women, who like Hispanic women, who like all different races of women. Well, I'm gonna say it's just as hard to date here as it is anywhere else. Dating is just not easy in 2026 for anybody. So if you come to Miami and you just come here to do all the touristy things, you may feel like it's not for you. Because if you look at how Miami is commercialized, it's commercialized as this place that has exotic looking people, rich people driving nice cars, living a luxe life. Like, you may feel like you don't belong. And that's why I chose to live in the suburbs. I live in the South. I don't see those things or experience those things unless I directly go into that space. Just because you move to Miami doesn't mean that you have to be about the clubs and the nightlife. There's so many other things to do in Miami. The important thing is to come out here, experience it for yourself. And if you like it, we would love to have you in Miami. If you don't like it, then that's fine. You can find a place that's for you. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you learned something from this today, and I'll see you in my next upload.